Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was just turning the bowl. Next on Abrasive and Proud of It Live. Moving on to the jaws for the one-way. They have a number of jaws, kind of like the Nova. They don't go by size, they go by numbers. So like your number 2 jaws will be your standard jaws that you have. One-way is made all in Canada, so they're made by our neighbors. And they got great customer service. If you ever have any problems, just give them a call. But there are other options out there. Like if you're going to do a lot of production spindle turning, we have other things that will help you out. Like we do have what they're called step centers. Is the live center, and this one is the drive center.
Good afternoon and welcome to Turning Tuesdays with Turnmaster Chris. This is Mr. Chris himself. And Chris, what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to be talking about traditional turning tools. So for instance, like traditional high-speed steel or other tool steel options. So if like you go to a flea market or you go to a garage sale or something like that, you pick up a set of tools, you really don't know what they are. We're going to go over that kind of stuff today. First off, if you just bought a lathe and you don't have any tools and you don't know what to get, we do have quite a few options here. Like we have some sets here that come with the basis, a wide variety of things, from parting tools to spindle gouges. Now, if you want to get into bowls, we do have some other kits available that do have a little bit of both. Like the Sorby set here has a little bit of spindle work stuff, and it also comes with a ball gouge and a handle, so you can interchange them and whatnot like that. Now we can go over the basis here, but I just wanted to let you know about that. So if you ever bought just a regular set, like say you just found a cheap set or something like that, most of them will come with something like this. This is actually what is known as a spindle roughing gouge. And it's mainly for just spindle work. So if you're going to be holding something, say the tree grew up this way, your leaves are over here and the stump is over here, you're holding it in between centers like this. So this will be for roughing out that log or that square stock or something like that, so the grain is just going upwards. We also have some of the kits would come with like a spindle gouge. This is for like your fine detail work, so if you need to do some like coves or beads, or you want to get into finials and stuff like that, you can use your spindle gouge. And just about every single set I've ever seen comes with a parting tool of some form or another. The basic ones will pretty much look like this. You just stick them on there. So if you want to part the piece of wood in half, you just stick it into the wood and you kind of part it away like that. They also normally will come with some form or another of a scraper. This is for like cleaning up, like if you're going to do a bead, excuse me, a bead or a cove. This is for like cleaning that up and doing a little bit of like if you want to make a box or something like that, that's what that's kind of for. And then also they'll all pretty much come with a skew. Everybody kind of has their own opinion on these. I don't normally recommend them for beginners because they are an art form all on their own. And number one, you got to sharpen them. Number two, you got to learn how to hold them. So a skew, if you do get a set, just kind of hold off on trying to play with that for now. It's something that you want to get into when you get a little more advanced, in my opinion. if you ever are looking for a bowl gouge, actually I'll grab a bigger one here so you can kind of see what I'm getting at. This one here, see how what this is known as the flute. So the big slot cut out or milled out of the tool itself, that's what's known as the flute. So if you're looking at them and you don't really know which one's which, normally a bowl gouge will be nice and deep like this, and that's for hogging off serious material when you're doing a bowl and stuff like that. There are also other forms of parting tools, like this thin one here. It's for parting off small, thin material, or if you're doing a box and you want a grain match, then you only have that small blade, or also known as a kerf, of material gone, rather than a big, thick stock. Any questions for me, Mike?
No, none so far. I have one as far as you were talking the gullet on like a bowl gouge, spindle gouge, roughing gouge. Are you going to be going over that at some point today?
Yes, we will.
Okay, perfect.
I can go ahead and start off on that. So your spindle gouge will normally be, you can kind of see that. I'll get over my black shirt there. Kind of a shallow flute, and it's mainly for doing fine detail work. Like if you're going to be doing like, as I said, a beater or cove or finial, and even a pin blank or something like that. It's only made for taking off little bitty passes at a time, and taking the tool and rolling it and getting them fine shapes and stuff like that. And I've already talked about the bowl gouges. So you kind of know what those look like. Again, just the deep, long flute. And normally the tool itself will be quite a bit bigger. Like this one's got a big 16-inch handle. And so you can really get into the material and just hog off some wood at a time. Any questions, Mike?
And then a roughing gouge is just a wider form of a spindle gouge?
Yes, a spindle gouge, it will have the deep flute there, but normally it's a whole lot wider than a spindle gouge or even a bowl gouge, and it's made for if you have some big kind of stock that you're holding on to in between centers, and you're just really going to try to get that, like say the bed of the lathe here is flat, and you really want to follow the bed of the lathe and just make sure it's flat. You have that big wide meat there that you can take off, that big wide shape to get real flat, if that kind of makes sense there.
Yeah, so basically the wider the gullet, the more material you can remove. But the deeper
Yes.
the gullet, because like on a bowl gouge, you were saying the gullet's deeper, and I noticed that the actual width of the gullet is much more narrow.
Yes. And even we have bigger spindle gouges, spindle roughing gouges like this big monster one, and see how the width of it's about the big enough for my hand to fit it. And that way, if I had a piece that I just really needed to get real flat, I'm taking off quite a bit of material, and I can go nice and slow and get a really beautiful clean cut.
Yeah, so on my wood turning
There you
app
go.
that I have that's like a video game, it has that tool only. That's like my number one tool, so it's not made for every situation.
No, it is not. These spindle roughing gouges, just because they have the word roughing in the name, doesn't mean they're the most universal tool in the world. I've seen people try to rough out burls and bowls with them, and then the tool was kicking back and try to find them because simply the angle that's ground onto the tip here is not suitable enough, and it's just wanting to fight each other. And also the tang that goes on the inside of the handle here is not suitable enough for hogging off a lot of material like you would be doing there. So a bowl gouge is really what you need for roughing out a bowl and hollowing out a bowl. If you're going to do some work on the back side of the bowl, like on this one here, if I had tenon or something like that, then you can use some other tools. Like me personally, when I do the back of the tenon, I use a parting tool to make the dovetail, and then I use my spindle gouge with the fingernail grind to get the tenon off when I'm trying to clean off the bottom of the bowl. And that way I have a nice concave shape, and that way it will sit on the table flat.
Okay.
Do what now, Mike?
I said okay. No other questions right now or comments. And if you have a question or comment, please go ahead and leave it in the comment box below, and we'll have Chris answer it for you live on the air.
Yep. One thing I do want to talk about with bowl gouges, everybody, if you go to a turning club, and you'll see a lot of guys using what's called a side grind, an Ellsworth grind, Irish grind. There's a lot of different names for it. And essentially it'll look like this right here. You can see it kind of glistening there. You don't have to have it, but it is nice, especially for beginners, because this tool is very forgivable, especially with like the outside of the bowl here. Like if I had the bowl right here, I just got done shaping the outside. If I have a lot of little ridges all over it, I can actually take that tool in such a way, say my finger's the tool rest, I can tilt the handle down and then kind of use what's called a shear cut and come at it like this and just kind of clean that cut up, clean all them cuts off, so you have a nice wide sweep there, and you can really clean up your lines and then pretty much go right into sanding. So that's why there's so much hype behind the side grind. You don't have to have it. A lot of people will call in or ask online, stuff like that. Do you have any side grind bowl gouges in stock? They sell out pretty fast, but we normally have the regular ones in stock, and you can actually cut them yourself. So if you want to save a little bit of money and you feel comfortable enough to sharpen them yourself, you can buy a bowl gouge kind of like this. Normally, if you buy just a regular bowl gouge with no side grind or anything, the tip of the tool will kind of look like this here, and you can actually shape it and sharpen it yourself. You just find your 60-degree angle, and if you have some kind of sharpening system there, you can actually just use the sharpening system to kind of rotate the tool and get those side grinds.
As a matter of fact, we had Scott Caskey on a couple of years ago who showed us how to sharpen the Ellsworth fingernail style.
Yeah, and Mike can even put that in the comment or in the what do you call it, the footer down below with a link, so you can actually watch that video. And Scott explains it very well. He has an oversized tool, and he shows what he's talking about with that oversized tool, and that way you can really see what I'm talking about there. You can sharpen it yourself. You don't have to buy one pre-ground. I mean, if you feel more comfortable buying one and then you can just follow along that edge, go for it. If you feel comfortable to sharpen it yourself, go for it. Save a little bit of money. Also, going with the ideology of buying one and sharpening it yourself, you don't have to have a side grind. Like the tool I was using in the beginning of the video, that's what's known as a 40-40 grind or a push cut grind. And you can buy just the tool or the regular tool yourself and sharpen it yourself. You can get any kind of angle you want, whatever grind you want. The main thing with bowl gouges, I will say, is consistency in the grind. You want to find some way to get that constant grind at that constant angle. That way, when you're on the inside of the bowl, you have that muscle memory of how you need to hold the tool, how you need to move the tool, and how much of a cut you can take off with that tool. Any questions for me, Mike, there?
Would you say that the side grind bowl gouge is maybe a little more user friendly for the beginner than the traditional bowl gouge?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I explained in the beginning there. You let me kind of show an example here, if that kind of will help people. Excuse me for my loud banjo here.
As long as it's not playing that one song.
Do what now, Mike?
As long as it's not playing that one song.
I don't know what one song you're talking about.
Too Young to Know Deliverance. That's it. Get out.
So let me find my center and tighten up the tailstock. So if say I just got, I'm going to start roughing out a bowl. What you can do there is most people are right-handed, so you'll be holding it like I am here. Then you can just take your body and always move your body with the tool. And if you can kind of see me here, so if I was roughing out this bowl, I would hold it in such a way and then just take my body and move it and kind of move my body with it. That way I'm kind of get a consistent angle there. And I left some ridges on the outside of this bowl. You probably can't see them on the top camera there. But if you do have ridges on the outside of the bowl, you can actually see one. I saw it right there, right here where my finger is. You can take the tool and hold it like this, and the tool of my handle, or the handle of my tool, is underneath my waistline, and you can hold the tool like this and move your body again and just get a nice and beautiful shear cut. And then when you run out of room and you hit the bed of the tailstock, you can come back the other way for you people who are ambidextrous, and you can come back and clean it up and meet in the middle. Excuse me. That way you can clean up your lines. You can go straight into sanding and then move on to finishing, kind of get some work done pretty fast. Any questions about that, Mike?
No, that makes a lot of sense. So you're basically wanting to take and make it into like a scraper. I mean, trying to say this in a way that's not a turning term, but if you're someone who's not wood turning and you use like a hand plane or a scraper and you're getting that really clean, smooth, buttery cut, it's not the same thing?
No. A scraper is scraping. You have that burr that's curved over, and you're scraping. This is actually cutting. You can actually get nice, beautiful, thin shavings like this, also known as angel hair, and you can actually really cut with that tool. And so if like say this bark right here on the top of the tool, this is almost gone. If I wanted to, I could take that shear cut and just kind of clean it up until it's completely gone, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also have other tools, other bowl gouges, and we don't have, how do I explain myself? We have the handled tools. We have the standard high-speed steel. We have the M42 steel, and that's kind of a whole nother topic. We can get into that if you, Mike and Chris, want to. But we also have the unhandled tools. So they come with your standard grind. You just got to call to order these. We don't stock them on the website. They come with your normal grind like this one, and then you can just sharpen to whatever angle you want. Like this one here, I put the Ellsworth grind on, and then this other one, I have the push cut, or also known as the 40/40 grind, on there. That way I can kind of do my hogging out on my bowl and cleaning up on my bowl as well. We also have, for you people who don't like to sharpen, we also have, let me find my center of the camera, we also have some double fluted bowl gouges. That way you can sharpen both ends at once. If you dull one tip of the tool, you can flip it around in your tool and start cutting. So if you wanted to, you can do your entire roughing out with the bowl and then do your final passes if that's kind of what you're into. That way you only have one tool.
It's also good for those who are clumsy.
Yeah. And also the people who, if you don't really have, not to say, if you're on a budget a little bit, I guess you can say, if you're on a budget, this tool, yeah, it's about, I have it on here. No, I do not. It's normally about $110 to $120. You can call to ask for the price on that one. And you're getting two tools in one. If you get one of these, I think these are about 80 to 90 bucks, and you're only getting one. So you do kind of save a little bit of money because you're getting one tool that has two on it, if that kind of makes sense there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what handle does that go with?
You can either make your own handles, or where did mine go? We also have the one-way handles. These are nice and stout. We also have the one-way handles that have the 3/8 bowl gouge hole, and also the 5/8 there, or 1/2 inch, my bad. And you can stick it in there. They slip in very nicely. Oh, wrong side. They stick in there nicely. And the other thing I like about this is if you have a one-way chuck, your key that you take off your jaws with and your set screw for the spindle does the Allen wrench. That way you only have one tool by the lathe. Works for your tools, works for your chuck. I really, really, really like that. These will also work with spindle gouges. We also carry some unhandled spindle gouges, not very many in stock. Just give us a call and ask it what we got in hand. We can order anything if you need it really bad. And if you want to go the route of buying the tool and making your own handle and saving a little bit of money, you can do that as well. You can even go as far as making your own brass collar, drilling your hole in your handle, and going on from there. Any questions for me, Mike, so far?
Nope. We had Jason Martin watching on Facebook, and he just said he's got to go, but thanks, guys. So we appreciate you doing that.
Thanks for stopping by. We also have, going with bowls a little bit more, we have some of the meatier ones, like this one here. I believe is considered it says 3/4, so it'd be a 1-inch diameter with a 3/4 inch flute. And I can kind of go over that a little bit there, because there is a lot of confusion with bowl gouges there. Depending on the manufacturer of bowl gouges, like this one here is an old school Robert Sorby. If you're across the pond in England, they call say this one says on it 3/4. That means it's got a 3/4 inch flute, but that also means it's got a 1-inch diameter. So if you're looking at a tool from England, kind of keep that in mind. If you're looking at an American, keep that in mind. So if it's an American-made tool manufacturer, or even a Canadian one like the one-way tools here, like this one here, if you look on One Way's website, it says a 5/8. We even have that on our sticker, but it's actually a 1/2 inch flute with a 5/8 diameter post. That's something I didn't learn until about a year and a half ago. Any questions, Mike?
Nope. You're still good.
Okay. Going into the spindle gouges, those, if it says it's like this one here is a 1/2 inch, that means it's a 1/2 inch flute and a 1/2 inch diameter, because the flute of the tool does end on the diameter of the tool, if that kind of makes sense there. Spindle gouges, if you buy one, they'll come pretty much a standard size. We do have a few that say they are a fingernail grind. They're just swept back a little bit more on the side. And what that would be for, like I have one here that I use for my finial work. There you go. You can kind of see that there. It's about the length of my fingernail. So what that's for is, say if I have a finial that I got in between centers, I can actually take that tool, do the exact same thing I was talking about with the bowl, take the handle of the tool, pop it down, and I can actually use my tool itself as a skew, and kind of do a surfacing cut and get everything consistent. The length of the finial there. We have all kinds of sizes there. We have little bitty 1/4 inch ones, and we also have big old 1/2 inch ones. We even have a micro detail set. I don't have one on here with me because we're out of stock at the moment. But it's got a tool that's about the half this. It's about yay long, and the tool is about the metal is actually about that long, and the handle is about that long. So if you're going to do really, really, really fine work, like you want to do nothing but finials, or you want to make chest pieces and you need that little bitty detail, you can get in there with that, not have to feel like your tool handle is in the way there. We also have scrapers, kind of hopping them back to bowls. We have traditional scrapers. All of the, let me grab this one actually. It's a little bit better to kind of see from the overhead. So we have scrapers. We have some flat ones. We also have some full round ones. We also have some bowl grind ones where one side of the bowl or one side of the scraper is sharpened, kind of like this one here. If you can see that shiny part, only that part is sharpened. And that way, if I'm on the inside of the bowl, I can use that part only to kind of clean up on the inside of the bowl. All the scrapers we carry come with your standard grind. Since this one's pretty thick, you can kind of see they only have a like a 60-degree kind of scraper grind on there. Again, if you want to sharpen them, you can. If you want to sharpen them and change them, you can even put a negative rake. These are kind of hype right now. Everybody is always asking for, do you have negative rake scrapers? You can make your own. You don't have to go buy one specifically already cut. Just go ahead and make your own. You can save a little bit of money. Yeah, you will remove some material and some meat from the tip of the tool because you have to shape it to whatever kind of shape you want, and also put that secondary bevel on there. But you don't have to spend the money and get one that's already a negative rake. We also have some smaller ones. That's kind of like the big one where it's just the tip is kind of rounded over. That way, if say you're going to do a cup holder or a pin holder or a box or something like that, you can use the tip of the tool to clean off the inside of that little bitty hollow spot and just get a real nice clean cut in the inside of there. Any questions for me, Mike?
I have a couple of beginner questions, but I'll wait till you're done with your tool demonstrate or your tool presentation first.
Okay. Going on to Skews. Actually, I'm going to go back to parting tools because we have quite a few options there, and they can be confusing. And so I'm kind of working down the line of the list of tools I got here. This one is known as what's called a diamond parting tool, and if you can see there, I got two shiny spots on this one. So if you look at it from the overhead shot, actually we'll go this way. If you look at it kind of on this angle, it's in the shape of the diamond, and that way when you are say this live center is my piece I'm parting off, heat can release off the material rather than having that full mass of tool steel kind of rubbing all the way on the inside there, so heat can release. And then you also have the width you want kind of there at the widest part of that diamond. That's kind of what a diamond tool is. I have a traditional one here. That way you can kind of see it. It's kind of a mess over here because I was turning earlier. But see how it's just kind of consistent. I mean, if you're going to hog off, like if you got a 3-inch block of wood that you got round and you want to cut that in half, that's going to create some heat and even burn. The things with diamond tools, you got to keep them sharp because they will burn if you do not. And you also got to make sure your angle's right. We also have the slim ones, which is very nice. As I said earlier, that way you can only remove the width of the blade. So if you're going to get something where you need the grain match top and bottom or something like that, that's very nice with that. It kind of looks like a knife there. So if you're looking for one of these, that's kind of what they all look like there. Any questions before I move to the next step, Mike?
No, sir. You're covering it very well. Thank you.
Okay. The next thing we have is, as I talked about earlier, our Skews. There are a wide variety of Skews, and I'll kind of show you here. Let me get in the shot. So first off, if you get a skew in a set or something like this, it's pretty simple. It's just each corner is squared off, and you have that slight angle there, and then it's kind of sharpened like an oversized knife blade there. These nice square ones are nice if you're going to just take it and do a planing cut and get everything kind of consistent. As I said earlier, you got to practice with these because they can catch in a hurry, and that tip of the tool can catch into the wood, or even the bottom side of the tool can catch and kind of kick back at you and give you a good scare if you're not paying attention. And we also have rounded ones. This one here, as you can kind of see, it's an oval shape, and that way if you're going to take the tool and even do beads and coves with it, you can take that tool and move it all the way to the tip of the bevel and then all the way back down, depending on what you're going to do there. We also have the best of both worlds. We have one that is completely flat on the top. That way you can stick it on your tool rest nice and flat. You don't have to worry about it rocking too much. But if you ever need to do the beads and coves and whatnot like that, you can actually, I don't know if you can see it here, it has a rounded over edge on the side, and that way you can take the tool and kind of round it over there. I just grabbed a few examples to kind of talk about some of the things, like all the ones that are out of the packages are mine, and the other ones are some other options we carry. We carry quite a different few tool steels, and that can be confusing as well. All the standard tools, where'd that go? Like the Skew here, and mostly every single one of the sets we carry are a M2 high-speed steel. That's kind of what you want to look for, the standard M2 and high-speed steel. If you get both, that's perfect. If it says just high-speed steel, kind of do your research a little bit there, or take it out as a grain of salt. M2 means there's some kind of metallurgy going on there, meaning it can have a edge retention. If it says just high-speed steel, there's kind of no telling what kind of tool steel there can be in there. We also have some of the higher end steels, like the M42s. If you're looking at our website, and it has this nice, beautiful black coating here, and with the copper band, that means it's going to be the M42 steel. The benefits of that is, number one, it's a little bit better steel itself, but these crown tools are actually cryogenically treated, and so that way they're even harder. So number one, you can get the sharper edge from the M42, and number two, the cryogenic treatment will actually hold that edge a little bit longer. We also have...
Sorry to ask you this question on the M42 real quick and interrupt you, but
yeah,
there's a misconception that because of that harder steel that you're going to need a special sharpening, like diamond stones or silicon carbide. What's your take on that? Can you sharpen it with a regular bench grinder?
You actually do not need a diamond stone. Yes, it is nice to have, but you do not. The good thing about M42 steel is it's that good middle of the road. Yeah, you're getting a better tool steel, but yeah, you don't need to go ahead and jump in and spend all that money on diamond wheels and different forms of sharpening. You can still sharpen with your old stones or old sharpening process. Now, some steels, they do heat up and kind of clog up the stones depending on what you're going to do. Like if I'm talking about the next tool steel, the M4 tool steel, you do kind of want to move into getting some better form of sharpening, like if you want CBN wheels, or if you have a Tormek, getting the diamond wheels, or so on and so forth, getting something that can get that consistent edge and cleaner edge. The other benefit of the M4 steel is it's like the next step up above M42. Normally the ones we carry from one way are also cryogenically treated, I believe. So you get that extra sharpness, which is what I kind of like. That way you can get that really, really sharp razor edge. Say if I'm going to do, where's it at? If I'm going to have this Ellsworth side bowl grind, I can get that beautiful sharp edge with my CBN wheels and even go to a 600 grit. And I know that edge is going to be nice and polished, and I'm going to get a very nice consistent cut with that edge. That's kind of the why people want to get into better steels. Number one, holding the edge longer. Number two, getting a much more cleaner cut. We also have We don't have much, but we have some powder metal steels. This one's from Crown. This is actually, if you look on our website and see the David Ellsworth Signature Series bowl gouge, it is what they call a Pro PM, so a Pro Steel PM, meaning powder metal. And I believe this is also cryogenically treated. So the powder metal, if you kind of think of it, is a finer metal. That way you can get a really nice razor edge with it. But the downfall of the powder metal is you're going to have to sharpen a little bit more. So yeah, you get that sharper edge, but yeah, it doesn't hold as much as the M42 and the M4, in my opinion. We also have, I have a good example here, the Excelsior line from Sorby. What it is pretty much is an M2 tool steel with a titanium nitride coating, or a titanium nitride coating on the outside. So you get the rigidity of M2 tool steel, but since titanium nitride is a little bit more of a brittle steel, they coated the outside of it, and the titanium nitride will get sharper than everything I've kind of found here on my table with the M4, the M42, powder metal. So that's kind of the benefit of the Excelsior, is you can really get a razor edge if you're absolutely looking for that. So that's why I have a Excelsior spindle gouge with that fingernail grind. So when I'm doing my ebony finials or something really hard and dense, I can really clean up with that sharp edge on there. And yeah, it does hold a little bit, hold the edge enough for me to finish one project, so I don't have to sharpen 3 or 4 times through one project. So if I'm doing a finial yay long, I don't have to worry about sharpening but once, if that kind of makes sense there. So that's pretty much all the tool steels we have. Mike, what was your beginner question you had for me?
So it came down to actual sharpening, because we're talking traditional turning tools. The one, some people see it as a drawback, but the one thing that needs to be addressed is sharpening. And so what are maybe some, I know your way, so maybe explain your way of doing it and then why you chose to go that way.
First off, before we do go down the rabbit hole of sharpening, because it is a deep, dark rabbit hole, I do want to talk about the benefits and the drawbacks of traditional tools. The benefits of traditional tools is it'll cut a whole lot faster and a whole lot cleaner than carbide will. And I got personal hands-on experience with that. And me and one guy who works in our Hickory store here, we kind of butt heads on that. And he swears that carbide's better, but still he can't rough out a bowl or anything like that as fast as a traditional bowl gouge will. And also, he's spending more time sanding than he is actually turning, in my opinion. Now we can go down the rabbit hole. The carbide, well, jumping back a little bit, the carbide is nice because you don't have to sharpen, you don't have to buy any grinder. But the downfall is, as I said, you're going to spend a little bit more time sanding because it's not as clean as of a cut. Okay. Sharpening, you're going to need some form of sharpening these traditional tools. And even right out of the gate from buying one, any one we have, they don't come as sharp as they should be. So you're going to have some way to sharpen them if you're going to buy one, whether that be a low-speed grinder or a Tormek or even a Sorby, what is that called? ProMaster, Edge Master Mike?
The Pro Edge?
Yeah, the Pro Edge. You're going to need some form of consistent way of sharpening them. So we have quite a few options, and we can even make a whole video on just sharpening, and I feel like we probably will here in the future. But you're going to need some form of sharpening, whether that be the low-speed grinder or jumping in head first and getting a Tormek or something like that, because you're going to want that consistent angle. And I'm going to grab... Oh, nope, wrong one. Yeah, I'll do the David Ellsworth one. So this one I really like, and I use on my Tormek at home. I have a really fine stone, and that way I can take advantage of this powder metal, and I can have a super razor edge. So if I'm on the outside of this bowl, I can get beautiful angel hairs and just really do one clean pass, and that way I can jump straight into sanding with like a 320 grit or even a 400 grit, knowing I'm using this bowl gouge. I do not have to do much sanding, and that's kind of the benefit of some of the higher end sharpeners out there. We do have the low speed grinder option with the Wolverine jigs. And what's nice about those is you can still get the consistent angle, but you don't have to spend a lot of money on getting started sharpening. And even down the road, you can upgrade it. So we do offer C-beam wheels, also known as diamond wheels. We have a wide variety of grits and sizes, and whatever your heart desires on C-beam wheels, we got them. Just call us. If you don't know which one you want, just give us a call. Talk to one of us. We can help you out there.
Hey, Chris, what do you think we set up on one of these turning days that we just talk about? Turning tool sharpening,
and I feel like that's what we're gonna have to do, because as I said, sharpening is a whole art form on its own, and there are a wide variety of options that even we carry and even the aftermarket carry. There's more aftermarket than there is that even we carry. Some kind of exclusive stuff from vendors and whatnot. But as I said, the main thing is consistency on that edge of the tool. That way you can have muscle memory and know how to hold the tool, and that way your tool is sharp. If you're having to force the tool to do something to cut, then it's probably time to sharpen. That's pretty much the telltale sign that you need to get to the sharpener and get to work. Any other questions, Mike, for me?
No, but I think it's a great idea that we cover sharpening so people have an idea. What grit would you say is a proper grit for somebody to stop sharpening at for a beginner, so they don't get down that rabbit hole? Because sharpening is a rabbit hole and we don't want to go too crazy with it. But what would you say is a good grit for someone to stop sharpening or just to sharpen to for the beginner?
For the beginner, so if you're a beginner and you don't have anything and you want to get into some kind of jig or grinder or whatnot, we carry the Rikon low speed grinder, and it comes with a 80 and a 120, I believe. The 120 is fine enough to stop at. If you have one at home that you're wanting to buy an aftermarket wheel, then I recommend getting a 150 or 180. That, in my opinion, that 150, 180 range is kind of the best of both worlds. It's coarse enough to where you can shape any tool you want, but fine enough you can get that nice edge on there. So that's kind of normally what I recommend. If you want to get something a little bit coarser, you can get something a little bit coarser. If you want to get something finer, obviously get something finer. Me at home, I have an 80, a 600, a 320, and a 220, and I even have the water wheel Tormek with all three wheels of CB in there. Because as I said, it's a deep, darker rabbit hole. Some things work better with sharpening than others, and that's something we can talk about there.
All right. So since if someone doesn't want to get down the rabbit hole of sharpening, are we going to be covering the alternative to traditional turning tools, which are carbide tipped?
Yes, and that's our plan for next week. So if you want to get into to turning and you don't want to buy the grinder right away, and you just kind of want to get at it and get to work, then we have carbide, and we can talk about the benefits, the downfalls, and whatever kind of options we carry for you, whatever you're after there.
Perfect. So we'll do that next week. We'll take a look at that. There isn't any questions on the comments. Chris, do you have any other questions?
No.
Thanks for your enthusiasm. All right. So join us next Thursday, 1 p.m. for Turn-In Thursdays with Turnmaster Chris, where we'll be talking about carbide turning tools and alternative turning tools on top of that.
Yep, we'll take care of any questions you have. Just please let us know. That's what we're here for, to take any questions or any concerns you have. And even if you've been turning for 3 years and you have a real technical question, we'll take care of you. We'll get you taken care of and resolve your problem.
Absolutely, that's a good point. So leave a comment, below on the video. We'll get back to it anytime. Anytime you watch this later on, we will get back to you on it. We'll answer that question. And don't feel like any question that you have is going to be a dumb one. If you do and you don't want publicly people to see that, then by all means, email us at sales@woodworkingshop.com and we'll send it over to Chris. Or you can call us at 800-228-0000 and we'd be glad to address it for you. Please don't be ashamed. Don't be worried about it. Just ask. We'd rather you be turning and happy turning than to be living in the dark or going down the rabbit hole.
The dumbest question you can ask is the one you don't.
Oh, that's beautiful. And with that, we will end it today. Thank you so much, Chris, for your demonstration of displaying all of the turning tools that we have available at Klingspor's Woodworking Shop.